All right, I'll take the liberty of getting us started. First, I want to thank Madam Comptroller and her representative, and I also want to thank the Director of the Mayor's Office of Information Technology for working so hard and so diligently with a commitment to moving us forward with modernizing our phone system. I want to thank the Comptroller for doing the work, but also her willingness to work with me and put the right, we agreed to put the right people at the table to move this project forward, and for that I'm very grateful. I think it represents good government, and I am looking forward to the project moving forward and working with you to make that happen.
Thank you. I would just like to thank you also because the mayor in November met and we agreed that what we would do is put two persons in charge that we trusted who were technologically astute to move this process forward. So I thank you for assigning Mr. Mullen, and I assigned Mr. Simon, and the RFP was approved, the BOWS contract was approved today, and we look forward to implementing a telecommunication system that is modern, because the one we have is definitely antiquated.
So I'll just say in advance of any questions, the details moving forward are still being ironed out, so we don't have any answers on that. But I believe that this represents a good step forward, and we will have more details in the future.
How was the deal brokered?
Hard work. I mean, I don't know if Mr. Mullins or Mr. Simon want to talk about it, but they've been working on a consistent basis since
November, and they've informed us of the progress and the plans, and this is why we are where we are today.
And it will be a joint operation between MTE.
So all of those details, like I was saying, we're still working them out, but there is a solid commitment to work together, to collaborate, and to make sure that we are doing the best thing for the citizens of Baltimore. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Before I take a few of your questions, I would like to first deliver a few brief remarks about my administration's latest efforts to make Baltimore City more bike-friendly. I am glad to be joined today by my friends and colleagues. First, Director of Transportation, Mr. William Johnson. Second, Director of the Department of Public Works, Mr. Rudy Chow, and my good friend John Laria, who is probably one of the most enthusiastic bike riders that I know. Thank you all for your dedication to improving the quality of life for Baltimore City residents. As many of you know, a key goal of my administration remains growing our city by 10,000 families. And in order to do that, yes, you have to attract new residents, but it's also about giving those residents who are here more reasons to stay. And that means supporting one of our city's most convenient forms of transportation and recreation. Not only is cycling green and economical, but it also promotes healthy lifestyles, and it's a great daily workout. The city of Baltimore is making great progress in its commitment to becoming a more bike-friendly city. Since 2006, since Baltimore City adopted its first bike master plan in 2006, we have installed more than 125 miles of bike facilities. Bike lanes, right? Sorry. But as we grow Baltimore, it's imperative that we continue to expand the network of sustainable transportation opportunities. So today, I'm very proud to announce the 2015 Bike Master Plan. This is an important roadmap that will add more than 100 miles of bike lanes over the next 15 years. It also outlines a number of priority projects to get us going over the next 2 years. Our 2015 Bike Master Plan will go to the Planning Commission tomorrow. I hope the Commission will adopt this plan to ensure that we can move forward with my vision. Of course, a plan to this scale will require an unprecedented amount of cooperative planning to guide the implementation and to support future growth. That's why today I'm also announcing an executive order to establish the Mayor's Bike Advisory Commission. This 11-member commission will represent voices from across our city, focused on expanding safe cycling, and the commission will include Mr. John Laria. The commission will bring city agencies, not-for-profit, city representatives together so that we will move forward with a unified vision. Together, I know that we can ensure our master plan will be implemented in a way that will reduce traffic congestion, it will reduce pollution and commuting costs for all of Baltimore cycling. I also know that by working together, we can continue to make a real difference in our community. We're already witnessing this change across Baltimore. For example, this week we reached an agreement to facilitate mountain biking around Loch Raven Reservoir. This new trail stewardship agreement will allow us to move forward after decades of disagreement. I'm also very proud that my administration found a way to work with everyone involved to develop an amenable solution that will create new opportunities for cyclists around the region. Those who have been working on this, I think you get some kind of commendation. You need some kind of star to recognize that this was a very contentious issue that has existed for a long time, and I'm very proud that we have been able to usher in a solution and a compromise. So through all of these initiatives, I know that we will continue to make Baltimore more bike-friendly today, tomorrow, and into the future. I am again grateful for all of the hard work. I'm looking forward to the work that is to come. And now I want to introduce Transportation Director William Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning, everyone. We're very excited to be here today with our mayor and under her leadership, along with Rudy Chow and John Laria, as we work towards improving our transportation infrastructure for cyclists in the city. The executive order being signed by the mayor will establish the Mayor's Bike Advisory Commission and will help create a more bike-friendly environment within the city of Baltimore. The new Bike Advisory Commission, along with the updated Bike Master Plan, will lay a foundation for future projects and future development for cycling throughout the city. Since the adoption of the city's first Bike Master Plan in 2006, Baltimore has made great progress in its commitment to becoming bicycle friendly. We've installed over 125 lane miles of bike facilities, as the mayor mentioned earlier, and we are continuing in our efforts to improve the connectivity and the expansion of bicycle facilities throughout the city. It's been 10 years since the adoption of the original master plan, and we are working to implement additional improvements for the biking community in the hopes that we'll see the plan approved by the Planning Commission coming up this week. The Bike Master Plan goes to the Commission for adoption on tomorrow, and it will be such an important step for the city to expand and enhance its biking infrastructure to have that plan approved. We have a goal of adding over 100 miles of additional facilities over the next 15 years. This is a very aggressive plan, but we have a lot of good elements and a lot of good input into what we're about to do, and we're optimistic, especially over the next couple of years, that we'll see a lot of good and exciting projects for the biking community. This includes a cycle track on Maryland Avenue and Cathedral, Madison Street and Center Streets, improved bike lanes on Lombard and Pratt Street, and the addition of over 6 miles of bike boulevards in West Baltimore. Many of our roadway resurfacing projects will also include, as a matter of policy, additional bicycle facilities that will be installed while we're there doing the work, as part of just a general policy of the city and DOT. To support sustainable transportation, our city, like other urban jurisdictions, must create an active infrastructure of multimodal transportation, including facilities for cyclists and pedestrians. So we're very excited about the opportunity, and we're looking forward to working with the commission and with the new bike master plan coming up. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd now like to introduce Director Chow. Director?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning. First of all, as the mayor indicated, the mountain biking around Loch Raven has been a contentious issue for decades. We are thrilled that we're able to come to an agreement with the mountain bike organization, where we now have an agreement in place that balances the protection of the environment as well as the enthusiasm in terms of the biking at Loch Raven. We have building there various components to make sure there's proper accountability in terms of protecting the trails out there and protecting the water quality at Loch Raven. As I indicated, we are just thrilled to have that agreement in place in concert with the master plan inside the city as well. Thank you.
Thank you again, Rudy, for all of your team's hard work. I know there was a lot of moving parts and also a lot of advocacy groups that were whose interests had to be balanced in order to come to this agreement. So I'm very grateful for your work. And now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bike himself, Mr. John Laria.
Well, good morning, everybody. Let me just first thank the mayor for her leadership and commitment and for the opportunity to serve as chair of this new commission. I'm really looking forward to working with her, with the administration, with the directors, the departments, the fellow commissioners who are being appointed. Let me just, a little context. I'm actually very much an accidental cycling advocate. Really, I'm a recreational cyclist. That means riding on the weekends, riding on bike trails, exploring the city. I participated in the city's bike party, although never in costume. Those of you who participated will understand that. And of course, the city has these terrific bike events, Tour de Parks, Tour de Port, which are really great opportunities to get around the city. But as I've done that, I will say that I have seen a tremendous amount of unrealized potential and a tremendous number of missed opportunities. And as I traveled more and saw other cities and what they were doing with respect to cycling and bike share and bike infrastructure, I realized that Baltimore wasn't really keeping up the way that it needed to. And I've shared these thoughts over time with the mayor, with the administration, and I think this opportunity that I've been given is a bit of a put up or shut up, which I very much appreciate and thank the mayor for, a chance to actually try and make a difference in improving some of these things that have that need some attention. But I will say that combined with the demographics that you see in Baltimore now, and the opportunity to attract millennials, and the interest in city living. I used to chair the board of Live Baltimore. Jane Miller and I served together on that board, trying to get people to come to the city. We have tremendous opportunity around those changing demographics, and particularly with the mayor's emphasis on 10,000 new families in the city. So a better environment for cycling becomes not a luxury, but really an imperative. It is important to make Baltimore a city of choice for residents, and it's really an economic development strategy, or at least part of an economic development strategy, which the mayor and her team have been developing. And it matters for residents, it matters for tourists, for visitors. The city needs to be perceived as a place where cycling and this kind of alternative transportation is nurtured, is supported, and is encouraged. Just a bit of background. In 2013, I organized under the auspices of the Greater Baltimore Committee a meeting of business community folks about cycling. And we thought, well, you know, a couple people will come, it'll be interesting, we'll order some sandwiches. We had 100 people, 100 business people come to the Greater Baltimore Committee to hear about and talk about the potential in the city for cycling. And these were representatives of companies you might expect, like Under Armour, but also like Constellation, architectural firms, accounting firms, who all came to these meetings and said, the people we're trying to hire want a city where we can have active lifestyle, where we can have alternative transportation, and they want to be able to ride their bikes to work. And we need an environment that nurtures that. And this sort of furthered, I think, the idea that this is really about economic development and city growth. My own building on Lombard Street has had to add several new bike racks because more and more people are riding to work. It's not just about businesses. I think, as you'll see in the Bike Master Plan, and I think it's true, it's about alternate mode of transportation for citizens of Baltimore who can't afford vehicles. The city is quite bikeable. People can ride to work, from home to work, as an alternate means of transportation, and I think the plan will have not only economic development initiatives for the business community and for recreational cycling, but also as a very practical means of transportation, a very low-cost means of transportation for people who can't otherwise afford vehicles. So for the last 2 years, we've been working with the city, the Director of Transportation, Caitlin Doolan, the new city's bike coordinator, who's been absolutely terrific, both to support them and to push them a little bit. They have been receptive to the support, and they've been receptive to the pushing, which we very much appreciate. And we're now at this inflection point with the plan coming out. So let me just say, I'm sure most of you have not read the entire document. It is truly an excellent master plan for the next generation of cycling in Baltimore. It's something we should all be very proud of. Of course, and this is probably a bad pun, where does the rubber meet the road? The rubber meets the road with respect to implementation, with respect to funding, with respect to staff time, and I think the mayor, the director, and others in the administration have all told me and have said that the city is going to commit to the implementation of the plan, because a good plan without implementation is not going to get us where we need to go. So hopefully we'll have some very visible changes in the short term. We need some visible changes to show a concrete commitment, a visible commitment by the city, followed by steady progress towards goals with respect to the master plan. And there's a terrific implementation checklist included in the plans that we can all keep track. And I think that's going to be part of the Commission's charge, to keep track and to keep the supportive pressure on the city to advance the plan. So it goes to the Planning Commission tomorrow. I'm optimistic that the Commission will support the plan, and we look forward to working with the mayor and the administration, the city council, and all the stakeholders. And again, Mayor, thank you very much for the opportunity to do this and for your support of cycling in Baltimore. Thank you.
All right. Again, thank you all, and I will open up for questions.
With regards to the Loch Raven deal, obviously for many years it was the city's belief that bicycling on those trails was not appropriate, that it would cause too much sediment to go in the water and that type of thing. And bicyclists said, well, this is the best place to ride. What happened to change the city's stance to
It wasn't.
let them accommodate the bike?
Yeah, so I'll let the director chime in, but it wasn't that it was, across the board bad. It was where they thought the best trails, like the optimal trails were causing, runoff problems. But it took a lot of work. They agreed to work with us, and we worked with them to find a compromise. So the trails that were chosen were one that were also environmentally sustainable.
So could one of you just kind of tell us what's on there so that we have an idea of how the code matches up? For example, those of us who ride through the city are familiar with the designated bike lanes on Pratt Street, which is really a bike sharing pedestrian lane that gets a little dicey. But, so is that what the blue dotted line is?
Yeah, the blue lines, there's a kind of a legend right here. This map is showing east-west, both planned and existing, and it shows, in addition to that, some of the shadowed lanes where we're planning to have cycle tracks, where there are existing bike lanes, where we're planning to have bike lanes, et cetera. So if you come up and take a closer look at the.
Yeah, but just explain, what's a sharrow? I mean, that's what we're trying to figure out. So using Pratt Street as an example, that is a designated lane. It's its own thing, separate from the street, has a little curve. Is that a sharrow?
Sharrow is a kind of a shared lane with bikes and traffic. It's not. There's a designated arrow to the far or area to the far right for bikes to use, and we encourage motorists to recognize that they're going to share that lane with a cyclist. It won't have necessarily a separated designated bike lane, but a designated area for bikes to share the road with
So
motorists.
on Roland Avenue, where the incident happened with Mr. Palermo, that was a shower.
I believe that's a bike lane. That's an actual bike lane,
But
yes.
So I think what a lot of people want to see is more protected bike lanes, right? And so those are the cycle tracks, is that?
Cycle tracks will typically be a protected bike lane. We also are working on, and we'll be working with the commission to target areas where we want to implement more protected bike lanes as we move forward in the future. Yes.
And Mr. Laria and others have said this, not just you, but that Baltimore is sort of lagged behind other cities in terms of protected bike lanes. And how much further can we realistically get in the near future? And is that the city's top goal, protected bike lanes?
It's one of our major goals as we move forward. Every bike lane won't necessarily be a protected bike lane. Many of them will be designated bike lanes. Some will be sharrows. But where we can have a protected bike lane, we'll look to implement those. One of the things that we're doing as we do our maintenance going forward and as we do new projects going forward, just as a matter of policy, is we have our review team. Part of the design review is to look at whether or not bike facilities can be implemented on those roads and what type, what level of bike facility, with our goal of starting with the highest level. If it could be if it's an ideal location for cycle track or protected bike lane, that's going to be our first priority. We're also
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
we're also looking at our Born to Ride program, where we're going to be working with our Safe Routes to Schools program, and it's going to make a lot of sense wherever possible to have protected bike lanes in those school zones. So that's something that Caitlin and our design team is looking at now. So.
Where's the money coming from?
We have, many of these roads will be able to extract funds from our federal allocation as part of an overall project. But DOT is also looking within its own budget, its maintenance budget and our operating budget, to set aside funds to make available whenever there's a need for us to go back and retrofit and or install bike lanes. So instead of having a project that excludes bike lanes, when we design a project, it's going to be included in the project cost.
You identified the dollar amount yet?
Well, one of the things that we've done with our federal allocation is designated about $2 million of our federal allocation to be used for specifically for bike-related projects and facilities. All of those projects haven't been identified, and those funds are restricted somewhat to federal aid-eligible roadways. But that's something that's never been done before, and that we are doing now as part of the mayor's commitment to this program.
There's different sort of bicycle subcultures in the city, and one of the ones that I find fascinating are, it's both kids and adults, honestly, the folks you see sort of going up on one wheel, taking off down the road, but it doesn't always strike me as the safest place to engage in some of those activities. And I'm wondering if part of the commission's work will be to find or designate locations and areas where folks doing that sort of bike riding can engage in that without sort of risking life and limb alongside traffic.
So, you know, this work will be inclusive, and the challenge that I've made to John and the group is that we work to make Baltimore more bike friendly. I think what you're talking about isn't so much, you know, there is a subculture that thrives, whether it's on a regular bike or on a dirt bike, on the, you know, it's like the subversive nature of it. You know, it's not, you know, people say, well, we want to, you know, give us a bike park and we'll go. No, like that's, you know, the goal is to weave in and out of traffic. You can't do that if you go to a bike park. And to, you know, to make a spectacle. There's nobody to make it, you know, a spectacle before if you're at a bike park. So, you know, I know that that we work to have an inclusive commission that will take a look at all of those issues, but I don't think there is a you know, a solution that would address, you know, that need. You know, hopefully will make Baltimore, you know, a bike-friendly enough place, and maybe they'll want to, you know, follow the rules and not, you know, be a daredevil. But, you know, I mean, especially young people, there's always going to be that spirit to be a daredevil, and they'll find it in different ways. But well, it's another story.
According to the Bike Master Plan, the budgeting from local dollars has been around $350,000 a year, except for a spike in 2011, and then came back down in 2012. Is local funding going to go up or decrease with this plan?
We're working with our engineering groups and our maintenance groups to identify funding from within our existing budgets to a greater degree than has historically been done to facilitate us being able to move forward with implementation when there's opportunities. The other thing that we're doing is a better job of planning. As we plan projects, part of the project, the overall project cost will then already incorporate implementation of those bike facilities based on the design that's done at the beginning of the project, as opposed to always having to go back and look at it as an afterthought to a project. So it's a different mindset, it's a paradigm shift within the Department of Transportation in terms of how we facilitate implementing the mayor's vision. And we're going to use the resources that we have. We're going to be more strategic and smarter about how we design and develop our projects.
So in next year's budget, is there a dollar figure identified for the total number of money that will be spent on bike infrastructure?
There's not a separate line item in next year's budget. We have an operating budget, we have a capital budget, and then we have projects that are in the pipeline that are being designed that are going to be implemented. And in those projects, as opposed to in the past where there were no bike facilities incorporated in those projects, now those bike facilities are being incorporated as part of the overall project cost.
So it's not a pull-out, separate budget item. It is, as he said, a paradigm shift where we're including it as a part of the project.
It would be interesting to see, though, how, like, if it could be calculated in some way.
I'm sure you would find that interesting.
Just a suggestion.
So how soon after the planning commission, if they give their approval, how soon can we see this implementation?
One of the things that you know, has historically happened is that projects are planned and then they're promised and then they're designed, and it seems like it takes forever for them to get done. So what we're doing now is we're planning and designing to evaluate the feasibility. We're identifying funding for them, and then we're saying, okay, this is a real project and it can happen, and we can assign a schedule to it. A lot of the improvements that we have planned, some of the ones that are right there just about to be done include, for example, the biggest one is probably the cycle track, Maryland Avenue cycle track. We're at 95% design on that project. And once we get that final approval from SHA, we'll be ready to move forward into construction. And we're hoping to see that happen sometime over the summer or early fall.
Is there an update on Charm City Bike Share?
Bike share is also an exciting part of what we're going to be doing. We are in the process with our RFP to bring on a Charm City Bike Share program. So that should be coming on very shortly too.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We have some other questions.
Oh.
Mayor, today the Board of Estimates voted.
Thank you all, sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to make sure I get this in. The city voted to terminate the contract with Energy Answer. Does this mean that this is the end of the incinerator project? Seems like a pretty significant reversal from the administration's previous.
Yeah, it is a reversal because of the performance or lack of performance. The vote today is a part of a broader decision made last month by the Baltimore Regional Cooperative Purchasing Committee, which includes Baltimore City as a part of the BMC, or the Baltimore Metropolitan Council. All of the member jurisdictions had collectively agreed to purchase 25 megawatts from Energy Answers waste to energy facility. But to date, the privately financed project is not progressing as planned, and numerous deadlines have been missed. It's missed deadlines to secure permits and to establish financing. It missed deadlines to begin construction and to deliver energy. So after conducting an extensive review of the project, and the collective jurisdictions decided to terminate the contract for convenience and for Energy Answers' failure to meet milestone. Each member of the BRCPC signed a separate agreement with Energy Answers, so each jurisdiction then has to do what we just did, which is to cancel the contract.
So, do you anticipate the incinerator project moving forward in a different way, or is the city going back to the drawing board and considering different energy solutions?
I think we'll always look for different energy solutions. I don't believe that this did not work as contemplated by any of the member jurisdictions, and it certainly, didn't work in the way that Energy Answers presented. So, BMC and the BRCPC continues to look for ways to be efficient with energy resources. Because of the work of the BMC and the BRCPC, we've saved taxpayers millions of dollars in those joint share agreements, and we'll continue to look for opportunities in the future.
If I may ask just one more question for clarity's sake. Do you still support the incinerator?
It's the concept I support. The implementation or the lack of implementation, none of us could support.
Mayor, kind of the word nationally among Democrats is that they're trying to tamp down competition in the primaries for the 2016 races.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to ask you again, since we are still standing at 2 candidates declared for the Democratic primary for U.S. Senate. Mm-hmm. Is no one from Baltimore going to do this?
So, I mean, I talked about this before. I mean, I hope I've been clear how much of a privilege I think it is for me to do what I get to do every day. And every day I find more reasons to be energized and optimistic about what we're doing in the city. I also understand on a larger scale how important it is to continue to have political strength from Baltimore City. I have been talking to other Democrats that are in this area, trying to see if there is an interest, and I know that they are taking a look at the race as well. My goal is to stay where I am, and I'm working very hard to make that a reality. The thing that I also know is while I'm trying to stay where I am and continue to serve as mayor for the citizens of Baltimore, I also know that there are some Baltimore, the Baltimore-based candidates that are looking at it, and I'm encouraged by that.
So are you encouraging others from Baltimore to run?
I am supporting their decisions and their examination.
Sounds like you're not going to. Yes.
I like what I'm doing. And I know you'd miss me terribly.
All right, we can do one more guy.
Anybody else? That was as much as, I think that, I want to stay where I am. So let's just try to work on getting somebody from Baltimore.